Some news out of the West Bloomfield Police Department, as it was announced earlier on this week by Steve Kaplan at the West Bloomfield Parks and Recreation Commission meeting, that Deputy Police Chief Curt Lawson will be retiring effective January 2nd, 2024, and departing for a new job in the nearby in the village of Franklin and Bingham Farms. At last night's Parks and Recreation meeting, Steve Kaplan had great praise for Deputy Chief Lawson on his nearly 20 years of service and what it means to see one of our leaders in our police department move on to another job nearby in our community. Let's take a look at what Steve had to say.
I think the fact that another police agency has hired one of our command officers to be that agency's police chief speaks highly for the township. It shows that we have high-quality people serving in law enforcement.
Deputy Chief Lawson departing in January for the village of Franklin and Bingham Farms' police department. Joining us now on the program is Deputy Police Chief Curt Lawson to talk about this transition in his career. Deputy Chief, first of all, congratulations on your impending retirement and your transition in your career. And of course, for nearly 20 years at the West Bloomfield Police Department, thank you for joining us today.
Well, thank you very much. And shockingly, it's been 29 years, so it goes that quickly. And I've been so fortunate here in West Bloomfield. I actually started off in 1994 as a police cadet and had great opportunities to do pretty much every position within the police department, ended up rising up through the ranks and became deputy chief in 2015. And I've certainly enjoyed the ride, but it's become time to give others a chance. We have such an amazing command staff here. They're so talented, and you really sometimes have to get out of the way and let them blossom. And that's what I'm going to do. And I'm so looking forward to my opportunity at Bingham Farms in Franklin.
We congratulate you on joining the Bingham Farms and Franklin Police Department. Been with the West Bloomfield Police Department since 1994. I'm a TV host, not a mathematician. Was just a little bit off on that. 1994, you began in the department, of course, became deputy chief in 2015, and a lot has changed in the years since you, A, have joined the police department, but B, since you've been the deputy chief. What are you most proud of in terms of the way the police department has changed, both its approach to law enforcement and how others have joined and grown in their ranks in the police department in your time with West Bloomfield?
Well, I think what I'm most proud of is, as we've seen law enforcement, the profession itself, have its ups and downs, the community has always supported us. And I think that's because our men and women are out there every day understanding the importance of having a positive relationship with the community. This is one of the most diverse communities in Michigan, and we have a very high approval rating of not only our police department, but our fire department. And, your hat's got to go off to the men and women that are out there every day making that happen, understanding the importance of that customer service and professionalism. No matter how difficult the circumstances is, our people do that day in and day out, and I'm very proud of that.
And moving on to the village of Franklin and Bingham Farms, it's very nearby to West Bloomfield, and much like in our fire services, the police services also partner very much with one another in the nearby area. And so being that you're going to be that close to West Bloomfield, how did that factor into your decision to move on to the village of Franklin and Bingham Farms, knowing the local area and having that knowledge?
I had several opportunities that came up, and that was really the one that I was focused on. Again, they do something very similar that we see here at the West Bloomfield Police Department. They have that relationship with their community. Their community supports them. That's very important to me. If you want to have a successful police department, you've got to have that community support. And they've been very welcoming to me. They're very excited that I'll make that transition over to Franklin Bingham Farms. So their arms have been out, very welcoming, and I'm super excited for the opportunity to continue to move that department down the road in a positive way.
And you mentioned some of the similar efforts they're making to West Bloomfield and your hopes to move that department forward. What are some of your hopes going forward as you transition into that job and in that department to advance that department forward, much like you've been able to do alongside Chief Patton and the other great leadership we've had in the police department over your years with us in West Bloomfield?
Well, I think my first few months that I'm going to be there, I'm basically in the role of being a listener. I want to listen to not only the team members within the police department, but the council members. I report to two different councils, both Bingham Farms and Franklin, and obviously listen to the community members themselves to see what we're really doing well and what areas we need to improve on, and then use a team concept with my team to make those improvements. I've never been a believer in a one-person show. I think I need a collaborative team effort to move the ball forward, and that's my plan. The chief that I'm replacing, Chief Dan Roberts in Franklin, has a amazing career. He was in charge of multiple major operations at the FBI. He was the special agent in charge of Detroit before he went to Franklin Bingham Farms. So I have some pretty big shoes that I'm going to have to fill there.
And certainly the best person to fill those shoes in this case. Curt Lawson with us on the Splash Live, Deputy Police Chief with the West Bloomfield Police Department, still on the job for a little while longer. His retirement effective January 2nd of 2024, before he will become the Chief of Police for the Village of Franklin and Bingham Farms' Police Department in 2024. You mentioned collaboration being a huge part of the police work you do, and earlier on you had given your praises to the leadership coming up in the West Bloomfield Police Department, and that is already in place in the West Bloomfield Police Department. And so as you move on, and as the police department in our local area moves on, and we think about policing in a different light today than we did several years ago, or certainly at the beginning of your career, what do you believe makes for a great leader in a police department?
I look at a great leader that's going to ask people where they want to go in their careers, and then you try to help them get there. That you give the parameters in which they operate, and then you set them free, understanding that the leader himself is always the person that's responsible for whatever the result is. But individuals are going to make mistakes. They're learning, and that's the best way to learn. So you obviously don't want them to make big mistakes where it's a liability to the organization and the township or the village that you're working. But you really got to set those individuals free so they can blossom and achieve their potential. So I think if you have a leader that is able to listen, that's able to have that two-way communication with the staff, with the community, you're going to have a pretty effective leader.
Curt, you've been with the police department in West Bloomfield for 29 years, beginning your career in 1994. And as you depart for Franklin and Bingham Farms, and you look back on your career with West Bloomfield and the impact you've made on this department and that the department's made in our community, do you believe that you've left this department, or you're leaving this department better than you found it?
I think that's always your goal, is you want to leave something better than you found it. And I think I've been able to do that more through my community outreach than anything else. I've been very involved in a lot of nonprofit groups, Clearsy Association over the years. I try to make as many community events as I can, and I developed a lot of relationships that I think will go on well beyond my career here at West Bloomfield. So I'm pretty proud of that. I'm not going to take any credit for anything that's happened within this police department. I give that credit to the men and women that are out there doing the job every day. Their job is much more difficult than my job sitting in my new cozy office. So it's all about them, really.
And it's been a collaborative effort over those years, and we've seen not only you be out in the community, but your officers and your sergeants and your lieutenants and the police chief also. So it really is that culture in the West Bloomfield Police Department to be out and about and involved in the community. As you said, community policing, so important, especially nowadays, given the circumstances of the past several years. And the changes we've seen have been necessary for police work in our community and beyond. Curt, anything else you'd like to say about your 29 years with West Bloomfield and your plans going forward as you move on to Franklin and Bingham Farms?
Well, it's been pretty emotional, actually. I wasn't expecting. I've had so much support internally from the number of officers, civilian staff that have called me, texted me, emailed me, came into my office, many of them telling me that they're sad that I'm leaving. And that just means a lot. You know, after 29 years, you kind of put your heart and soul into something. And the last thing that I can put my fingerprint on with my team here, I have a small team that's remodeling the police station. we're very proud of that. And then I'll be sailing off into the sunset and giving someone else an opportunity to blossom in this role.
As one door closes, another one opens for the West Bloomfield Police Department, and as well for you, Curt Lawson, as you move on to become the Chief of Police in Franklin and in Bingham Farms. Congratulations once again. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you, Tyler, and I've enjoyed working with all of you over the years, so thank you.
It's been a pleasure. Truly have been a friend of our show here on the Splash Live and our team at Civic Center TV, and we wish you the best going forward. Curt Lawson on the show with us today will be departing the West Bloomfield Police Department and retiring on January 2nd, 2024, before he becomes the Chief of Police in the village of Franklin and Bingham Farm. So he'll still be out and about on the job in the community, doing that community police work that you've seen him do over the last 29 years for a little while longer. While you're out and about, give him the congratulations, and congratulate the West Bloomfield Police Department, too, on its transition moving forward and its change in leadership as it continues to evolve and adapt and move forward.